The HOA president pointed straight at me in court and said, "This man flooded our entire neighborhood on purpose." What he didn't mention was that the entire neighborhood was built on my land. 3 years earlier, I had purchased 60 acres of quiet countryside just outside town. The land was peaceful, full of trees and open fields, with a small reservoir and an old agricultural dam that controlled water flow through the valley. Everything was officially recorded in the county property registry, and the land survey clearly showed the natural drainage basin below the dam. One afternoon, I drove out to check the property and nearly drove straight into a construction site. Bulldozers were moving dirt. Concrete trucks were pouring foundations. Framing crews were raising houses in neat rows. Someone was building a full HOA housing development right in the middle of my property. At first, I assumed it was a mistake. I contacted the county planning office and asked what was happening. According to their paperwork, a developer had claimed the land had already been purchased and rezoned for a suburban HOA subdivision. That didn't make sense, so I pulled the official property deed and land survey records myself. My name was still on everything. Despite that, construction never slowed down. Weeks turned into months. Roads were paved, streetlights installed, and eventually 35 brand new houses stood where my quiet fields used to be. Families started moving in, lawns were planted, and the HOA even installed a large entrance sign. Every single structure sat directly on land that legally belonged to me. Whenever I contacted the HOA board, they brushed me off. Our developers handled the permits. "This is a legal neighborhood. You're mistaken about the property line." So eventually I stopped arguing, because during all their construction, the developers ignored one very important detail about my property: the dam upstream. That dam had been there for decades, quietly holding back water from the reservoir above the valley. Its purpose was simple. When the reservoir filled after heavy rain, the gate would open and release water down the natural basin below, the same basin where the HOA decided to build their neighborhood that winter brought record rainfall. The reservoir level rose higher than usual. So I contacted the county water authority exactly as the maintenance agreement required. They reviewed the water levels and gave a simple instruction: open the gate and release the overflow. So I did. Water rushed through the spillway and flowed naturally into the valley channel that had existed long before the subdivision. By morning, the HOA streets and yards were covered with shallow water because the entire development sat inside a mapped floodplain. That's when the HOA accused me of sabotage, but in court, I only needed 3 documents: my property deed, the county floodplain map, and the official order to release the dam. The judge looked at the paperwork, then at the HOA lawyers, and quietly asked, "Why did your developers build 35 homes on land he owns inside a flood basin?" The courtroom went silent.